When did it start? I can't remember. Maybe yesterday, maybe 100 years ago, or maybe even longer. I live the same day over and over. This morning, when I opened my eyes, just like every morning, my alarm was ringing. I sat up in bed, put my feet on the ground, and everything seemed normal. But now I don't even know what normal means anymore. Every day, I live the same day again and again, and I need to find a way out of this loop. It's exactly 7:30. Damn it. We're back at the start again. My name is Alex. Or at least, I believe that's who I am. Right now, I'm in what was once one of the world's most advanced scientific centers, Chronocorp. A group of scientists here were trying to unlock the secrets of time. But then something went wrong with an experiment. And since then, I've been stuck in this damn loop. Whenever we reset, the experiment is always right in the middle. Something got caught in an infinite loop, and I got trapped in it too. This morning, just like every morning, I get up at 7:30. I go to the same coffee machine. I smell the same mold, the cold underground rooms of the lab, the bright machines we once used to try to make that breakthrough. They're all in the same place every morning, but nothing changes. At the beginning of the experiment, everything seemed to be going fine. We believed we could hold the start and end points of time together. We thought we could take human consciousness out of time and merge the past and future at one point. But we made a mistake. As we progressed, I realized this project was far more dangerous than we thought. Time itself pushed back against us. And now, everything repeats. I'm trapped in an endless reset loop. It's 7:30, and the day starts over. There must be a way out of this loop. But how? Something in my mind is giving me a clue. With every reset, I seem to remember something. Each time, I recall a different detail. Maybe these small differences are the key to breaking the loop. Today, I've decided to go back to the lab, to where the loop started, where it all began. Maybe the answer is there. I step into the elevator, going down to the underground lab, feeling a wave of unease rise inside me. How long have I been here? How long have I been living the same day? Maybe hundreds of times, maybe millions. When I reach the lab, familiar sounds fill my ears. The hum of computers, the slight vibrations of the machines. This is where we push the limits of time. I can still see the traces of my last experiment on my desk. On the blinking screen, the code that started the project is still there. But I noticed something before. Part of the code had changed. Each reset, I remember that part again. It will be different this time. I need to make a plan to escape. Somewhere in this loop, there must be an opening. If I can stop the reset, maybe I can get out of here. I sit at the computer, my hands touching the keyboard. The codes on the screen flash like they're mocking me. But this time, I'm going to try something different. Following the clues in my mind, I start rewriting the code. When everything went black, for a moment it felt like the whole world stopped. But then, there it was again, the same cold lab, the same hum, and yes, 7:30 again. The cold air hit my face, and deep in my subconscious, I felt something whispering to me, like things were starting to change. I opened my eyes and looked at the computer screen. The codes were still there, like they were waiting for me. But this time, it was different. With every reset, I remembered a bit more, and maybe this time, I could use that information to break the loop. My hands moved quickly on the keyboard. I was trying to connect the codes, to understand the language of time. Every character, every line, seemed to hold the key to this trap. And then, one line caught my eye. A line I hadn't noticed in previous resets. This line contained the main algorithm controlling the loop. My heart was racing. Was this the moment I found a way out? I started rewriting the code. Each keystroke felt like I was challenging time itself. But something went wrong. Error messages began flashing on the screen. The system wasn't accepting my changes. And that's when I realized this loop wasn't just trapping me. The entire Chronocorp was stuck in it too. Maybe everyone here, everything, was part of this loop. Just when I was about to give up, I heard a sound from the other end of the lab. Footsteps. Was someone else here? I turned, and in the distance, through the mist, I saw a figure. I had never seen this person before. They wore an old-fashioned lab coat, holding an old notebook in their hand. Slowly, they walked toward me and handed me the notebook. This will help you find a way out, they said in a mysterious voice. I opened the notebook, flipping through pages filled with notes, equations, and theories about time itself. These notes explained how to manipulate time, and on the last page was a very special equation, the exact formula needed to break the loop. With hope in my heart, I went back to the computer. I typed the equations into the code and started working on the system. This might be my last chance. If this formula worked, maybe I could break the loop and escape Chronocorp's dark maze. As I flipped through the pages of a notebook, I was lost in the formulas and notes about decoding the ancient language of time. Each equation offered a way to touch the fabric of time. Before disappearing into the mist, the mysterious figure gave me one last look and said, "Listen to time. It will guide you." Those words echoed in my mind as I returned to the lab and reviewed the codes again. At the computer, I started turning the equations from the notebook into code. This time, even though I ran into errors, each time I made more progress than before. After hours of work, I finally made a breakthrough. The timeline on the screen began to slowly change. It moved from 7:30 to 7:31. That small change was a big victory. For the first time, I had made a difference in the loop. But this success brought new problems. As the timeline shifted, parts of the lab started to change. The walls aged, the machines wore down, and everything seemed to age by decades in an instant. The old lab was clashing with my new reality. I wasn't sure what kind of problems these time shocks could cause. When the new day began, I studied the changing structure of the lab. Using the knowledge from the old notebook, I started building new tools that could alter the physical structure of time. Each device allowed me to manipulate a different layer of time. With these tools, I could save not only the lab, but possibly the entire Chronocorp. My first test was to speed up time inside the lab. If successful, I could break the loop and return to normal time flow. When I turned on the device, everything around me blurred and started speeding up. Machines were working, and people were moving from the past to the future. But the speed quickly got out of control, and I had to shut the device down. When everything settled, I realized something had changed. The world outside the lab was no longer the one I knew. By playing with time, I had found myself in a completely different time. Maybe I was in the past, maybe in the future. But here, too, I might be trapped in a new loop. After my last experiment in the lab, I had created a massive tear in the fabric of time. That tear had pulled me into an unknown time, or maybe another reality. Everything around me had changed. The lab was now unrecognizable. The walls were crumbling, and the technology was part primitive, part alien to me. I woke up in a new world, a new time, and I was ready to explore what lay ahead. Slowly, I ventured outside. The world beyond the lab greeted me with a completely different landscape. The sky was a bright orange, and the long shadows on the ground showed that the sun was setting. Around me, there were no high-tech buildings or complex structures, only simple huts made from natural materials. The people were different too, their clothes more organic, their expressions serious as they struggled to survive. After wandering for a while, I met someone who seemed to be the leader of this community. I tried to speak with him. I introduced myself, explaining where I came from and how I had manipulated time. At first, he was skeptical, but over time, I proved that my knowledge and experience were valuable in this new world. I began sharing the technology and knowledge I had brought from my time. As days passed, I became part of their community. I helped solve their problems, introducing new technologies and ideas that made their lives easier. But there was a feeling deep inside me that wouldn't go away. No matter how peaceful and calm this time seemed, I couldn't shake the fear that the tear I had opened in time could cause bigger problems in the future. One evening, as I looked up at the orange clouds, I saw a strange glow. Could this be energy leaking from a time tear? If so, the tear could grow at any moment and plunge this world into chaos like it had with mine. To stop this potential disaster, I decided to make a plan using my past experiences. I began developing a device that could control the energy leaking from the tear and, if possible, repair it. Alex worked for days, focusing on building the device that could control and, hopefully, repair the time rift. Each new attempt, each adjustment, involved deep interference with time itself. Villagers gathered around the strange and complex machine, watching with a mixture of wonder and fear. For Alex, this wasn't just a scientific experiment, it was a beacon of hope. Finally, when he felt ready to activate the device, everyone in the village gathered in silence. Alex turned the key on the machine and entered a series of complex commands to start the process. The sky suddenly lit up with a bright light, and the orange clouds above the village grew darker. The energy leaking from the time rift was being absorbed by the machine in a controlled way. As Alex watched the process closely, he noticed the world around him slowly changing. The machine was stabilizing the time around the rift, reconnecting the past and the future. But this process wasn't safe for everyone. Manipulating time so quickly and uncontrollably could lead to unexpected results. Suddenly, a wave of energy from the machine knocked Alex to the ground. When he opened his eyes, he found himself back in the lab. But this time, everything was different. The surroundings were modern and familiar, but covered in dust and rust from years of abandonment. He wasn't alone in the lab. Standing before him was a scientist who had once worked for Chronocorp, but had disappeared years ago. This person had been watching Alex's struggle with time from afar, and had now returned to help him solve the complex time puzzle. Together, they would work to close the time rift once and for all, and stabilize Alex's world. This new discovery brought Alex both relief and new responsibilities. While controlling time held unexpected dangers, he was no longer alone on this journey. After stabilizing the time rift, Alex and his companion decided to travel even deeper into time using the knowledge they had gained from the ancient civilization. This information showed them how to reach different points in time and what kind of knowledge they could gather there. But each journey meant further interference with the fabric of time, so they had to be careful. As they planned their next steps, they reached a time that was a part of Alex's own past. Moments from his childhood appeared before him. This was an emotional and enlightening experience for Alex. Witnessing his own past helped him understand the choices he had made and how those choices had shaped the future. These discoveries deepened Alex's relationship with time and taught him that time wasn't just a physical dimension, it was also a part of personal and collective memory. The echoes of the past played a key role in shaping the future. After their final journeys, Alex and his companion decided to completely close the time rift and return to normal time. They adjusted the device for the last time, releasing all the time periods back into their natural flow. This meant closing the time rift and stabilizing time once and for all. When they succeeded, Alex returned to his own time, armed with the knowledge he had gained from the depths of time. He now understood the secrets of time much better and realized the importance of living in harmony with it. Instead of fighting against time, he had learned that going with its flow and adapting to life's rhythm was far more effective. In the end, Alex lived a wiser and more balanced life, drawing from the lessons he had learned in the past and future. Time was no longer his enemy, but his companion.